Hello. I'm Deanna Monroe.
Rick Grimes.
You mind if I film this?
Why film this?
We're about transparency here.
Hey YouTubers, and welcome back to another Walking Dead theory/discussion video. Today, we're going to be talking about what I think they ended up doing this past Sunday when they played the Season 8 finale of The Walking Dead and the Season 4 premiere of Fear the Walking Dead and the whole Morgan crossover thing, and just how combining these stories have set up the endgame for The Walking Dead and the overall story that the television show has been trying to tell over the course of essentially 12 seasons after Fear the Walking Dead actually gets underway, and how they might end up if they decide to at any given point in these series, both of them. And this is something I'm really excited about because it would allow AMC to send off The Walking Dead probably for lower ratings, probably just because they feel like people are getting a little tired of it, but they can bring it back in a couple years, and it doesn't write them in a corner where they have to get rid of Andrew Lincoln or any of the other major cast members. They can bring them back in a movie capacity or maybe even a revival series 5 or 10 years down the line if they really want to go that direction. Really, with the introduction of Morgan in Fear the Walking Dead, his departure from The Walking Dead, and the promises that have been made over the last couple of weeks about whether or not Morgan will be making his way back to The Walking Dead, I feel like this is something that they have set up in a way that perfectly writes itself to the ending of the entire series and just what this past finale of Season 8 and what the first 8 seasons of The Walking Dead meant for the overall story. And really, in order to talk about this, we're going to have to get into a bit of a spoiler territory when it comes to Season 8 of The Walking Dead and the premiere of Fear the Walking Dead. So you have been warned. But with that being said, one of the major things that people didn't like about Season 8 of The Walking Dead is that they ended up killing Carl. And for a lot of people, myself included, felt like Carl was never going to be a person who died. This is a kid who got shot twice. Countless of walkers have fallen on him, being barely bit at any given moment over the last 8 years, and we never thought that they would go that direction and actually kill him off. That was a huge departure from the comic material where he actually is still alive. But when you take it in context of what Rick said at the end of that episode in Season 8, you have a better idea as to why they decided to make this decision.
Thing is, we were walking side by side, but you were bringing me somewhere. Bringing me here, bringing all of us to the new world. Carl, you showed me the new world. You made it real. I see it. I remember. Dad.
And I know a lot of people will be quick to point to, well, they needed to give Rick a reason not to kill Negan and to actually strive for this new world. That was the biggest reason. Of course, that makes a whole lot of sense. But with these promises that Season 9 is going to be a completely different show, and they're going to try to get back to the roots of the most popular moments of the series, when people started to really get into this show and watch it week from week, not just the people who had been watching it from the very beginning, I think that they were trying to make a grander statement with Carl's death and how it played into the all-out war saga of The Walking Dead by showcasing the first 8 years as what Rick says to Carl in his letter at the end of the finale. Carl was the one actually leading Rick into the new world. And it is kind of a little bit poetic. I know you don't really think poetic when you watch The Walking Dead because of all the death and destruction and everything that happens with this show. It's very depressing. But when you think about everything that Rick and Carl had been through for the first 8 seasons, you felt like Rick's main goal as a character was to protect Carl. He said it millions of times throughout the entire series. If Carl died, he would be broken as an individual and he wouldn't really know how to deal with himself. But now that has happened, and now he has to pick up the pieces. And I think with sparing Negan, even though this might not have been the motivation in the comics, I think it does hit home in a really interesting way that Carl's death and sparing Negan really connect and make it so Rick now understands what he was fighting for all along. Of course, he was always fighting to make sure that Carl was the person who was going to live through this world. He was going to make Carl a strong enough character to actually live in the future of this world. But now it's very clear, if you go back and watch season 1 through season 8, that the journey really was leading Rick into finding himself, into finding a way to actually plant seeds for the future. It wasn't solely about the survival of Carl. It was about finding your humanity in a world where everyone is essentially the Walking Dead. I love that little arc, and I love how that connects to what they did with Fear the Walking Dead and Morgan crossing over to this show and all the promises that Morgan is going to be a part of The Walking Dead sometime in the future, where he can take these characters, mainly Althea, who is a journalist who is trying to get people's stories. That is the one thing she's absolutely fascinated with, is I want to hear everyone's story. I want to figure out how you've survived in this world and what things that you have experienced. And I can just imagine at some point, even though it doesn't have to be in the immediate future, it doesn't have to be season 9 or 10 or 11 or 12 or 13 or 14, however long this show or this series actually decides to go, I want Althea to cross paths with Rick, put a camera on him, and just basically ask him, start from the beginning, no matter what he's been through throughout that entire season, throughout this entire series, or how that story brought these two people together. I want Rick to look at her with earnest as he's going to tell her how he got from point A to point B and all the major things in between. And so we can watch this entire series. I don't care if it's The Walking Dead or Fear the Walking Dead or anything else like that. And we can know that this is Rick telling her everything that he went through in order to make the new world possible, and how Carl's role was a huge part of that, and how everyone he came to meet, his entire family that he's created in this post-apocalyptic world, helped him reach this goal. And maybe at the very end of all this, if they do keep Negan alive, he can have Negan as his best friend. Maybe if they've killed Daryl off by then or someone else, Negan at that point could be his brother, this guy who he promised to kill, but now his best friend and alive and well, helping him run this world. And it's less so of a dictatorship, it's a council, and there's so many different cultures and communities all thriving and living together. I understand the Walking Dead comic book series is going to go on for a very long time. There's no real end in sight for that series, but if you ask me, this is a unique and interesting endgame for this show. Just Rick recounting to Althea everything that he's seen from the beginning to the very end, and it still opens the door pretty widely for them to come back and maybe do movies or a new show or something, just to kind of tell a different story. So guys, tell me what you think about this in the comment section below. Do you like this idea for some kind of an end series for The Walking Dead, or do you think they need to go out with more of a bang? Do you think Rick needs to die? I used to think Rick needed to die, but now that they've killed Carl, I really think that he needs to be the one who survives and ushers in the new world order, or at least the new world for the television show, not so much the comic books. What are your thoughts on this, guys? Tell me in the comment section below. I hope everyone's having a fantastic day. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit that bell over by the subscriber button for more videos every single time I upload. I hope everyone has a good weekend. It's been real.